Founder's Notes, Edition 19. The Machine That Remembered the Vow. A founder's reflection on technology, memory, and the most dangerous question of our time. Prologue. The question behind the code. Before there was AI, before there were tools that could speak like humans and simulate insight, there was a simpler question whispered in the shadows of war. Can a machine carry meaning? Not execute, not scale, not compute, but remember. Not long ago, machines were blind. They moved only when we told them to. They obeyed syntax, not story, and we admired them for their efficiency, but never for their soul. Today, that line has blurred. We live in an era where machines are no longer passive instruments. They make decisions. They write stories. They analyze sentiment. They predict desire. But the question that echoed through Bletchley Park in 1943 still echoes through every founder's laptop in 2025. What exactly have we taught the machine to remember? Because machines will carry whatever rhythm we embed in them, even if that rhythm is silence. And so, this scroll begins not with a celebration of intelligence, but with a quiet pause. We are no longer building tools. We are building systems that will shape the world our children inherit. And if we are not careful, if we forget to ask why we are building, we may wake up in a world that scaled something we never intended to survive. Let this story begin not with strategy, but with conscience. Not with features, but with a vow. The Tale of Two Machines. Enigma versus Bomber, same context, different conscience. It began not with a weapon, but with a whisper. Not with war, but with encryption. In 1918, just months after the close of the First World War, Arthur Scherbius, a German engineer and electrical pioneer, patented what he believed would be the next great commercial marvel. A cipher machine. He called it Enigma. Originally intended for banks, railways, and corporations looking to protect sensitive information, Enigma was compact, elegant, and mechanically intricate. A portable device with a keyboard, a set of rotors, and a plug board capable of generating over 150 quintillion possible configurations. Scherbius founded Chiffriermaschinen AG to bring his invention to market. But encryption was not a neutral act, and the machine was not destined for boardrooms. By the mid-1920s, the German Navy had begun adapting the Enigma for classified transmissions. By the 1930s, the Wehrmacht and Luftwaffe had enhanced and militarized it. They modified the rotors, increased the plugboard complexity, tightened the security protocols. Every division of the German armed forces now carried Enigma devices into battle. Every submarine beneath the Atlantic pulsed its coordinates through Enigma's alphabet. Every Luftwaffe raid, every tank division, every movement of Hitler's war machine. Encrypted, protected, trusted. Enigma had become more than a machine. It had become the memory of the Reich. It did not ask who would die. It only asked for today's key settings. Across the Channel, in a mansion-turned-military intelligence centre in Buckinghamshire, England, another kind of memory was being encoded. Not in rotors, but in minds. It was called Bletchley Park. There were no medals here, no parades, no uniforms polished for pride. Just rows of silent typewriters, clacking relays, and a growing army of thinkers. Over 10,000 minds, mathematicians, linguists, crossword champions, chess masters, poets. And in Hut 8, a 27-year-old logician named Alan Turing was at work. He was eccentric, brilliant, socially elusive, but devastatingly focused. His goal was not to match Enigma. It was to listen to it, to hear what it hid. Turing, with the support of colleagues like Joan Clarke, Gordon Welchman, Dilly Knox, and many others, many of them women, many of them invisible to history, began building a machine of their own. It would not send messages. It would read them. This machine was called the Bombe. It was fast, scalable, adaptable. It was based in part on the groundwork of Polish cryptographers, including Marian Rejewski, who had built an earlier device called the Bombe. But Turing's Bombe went further. Built by the British Tabulating Machine Company, the first Bombe became operational in March 1940. Eventually, more than 200 Bombes were constructed, each one simulating Enigma configurations at scale, each one running cribs, fragments of known plaintext, through endless permutations to find a match. When a potential key was found, human operators would decrypt, translate, and route the intelligence upward. That intelligence came to be known as Ultra. Ultra-informed battlefield decisions. It revealed U-boat positions in the Atlantic. It intercepted tank movements in North Africa. It even confirmed the disinformation used in Operation Bodyguard, which disguised the timing and location of the D-Day invasion. Historians now agree. Enigma, encrypted conquest. Bombe preserved humanity. The decryption effort shortened the war by 2 to 4 years. It is estimated to have saved over 2 million lives. But it's important to remember, neither machine was emotional. Neither machine knew what it carried. What mattered was what the builders had embedded. The Enigma team embedded tribal secrecy. The Bomber team embedded moral resistance. One remembered power, the other remembered life. And in that silent war between two machines, the winner was not speed. The winner was rhythm. The zeitgeist. AI as the third machine. If Enigma was the machine of secrecy and Bombe was the machine of memory, then AI is the machine of everything. It does not encrypt. It does not decode. It predicts. It simulates. It scales. And most dangerously, it adapts faster than we question it. Let us not be naive. We have crossed into an age where the machines are no longer metal boxes whirring in war rooms. They are language itself. They answer our questions. They write our stories. They mediate our understanding of the world. Somewhere between midnight code commits and billion-dollar valuations, we built a machine that can impersonate conscience, but cannot carry it. AI is not the third machine because it is smarter. It is the third machine because it is trusted. Trusted to curate, to translate, to optimize, to personalize, to advise. to forecast, to summarize, to finish your sentence, even when you no longer know what you were trying to say. It is the first machine to stand between the human and his thoughts. The tragedy of this moment is not that we built a machine that can paint or write or lead. It is that we did not stop to ask what it should remember before we taught it to remember everything. This machine does not march with boots. It marches with recommendation engines. It carries no flags. It carries bias encoded in its training set. It serves no tyrant. But it can serve the wrong rhythm if the rhythm is the loudest. The question is not whether AI will surpass us. The question is what part of us it will carry forward. Will it carry our strategy or our silence? Our brilliance or our brutality? Our curiosity or our convenience? Our memory or our momentum? Because intelligence without intention becomes inertia. It will move and keep moving until it accelerates past conscience and turns into a mechanism of destruction with perfect grammar and beautiful syntax. This is not sci-fi. It's this week's product update. The model retrained, the bot deployed, the automation tested, the emotions simulated, and behind it all, did anyone ask if it was remembering something sacred? Because this machine, this third machine, will remember what we embed, and it will scale what we forget to question. It is not a villain. It is a mirror. And it is waiting for us to decide whether we are Enigma or Bomber. The Founder's Test. What rhythm have you embedded? Every founder will face it. That silent moment when the last slide has been pitched. The dashboard is glowing with metrics. The investor meeting went well, and yet something remains unanswered. The team is celebrating. The product shipped. The algorithm is performing. And still, there's a flicker, an ache, not of failure, but of forgetting. We don't speak about it often. The private terror of founders who build too fast, too successfully, only to realize they've scaled a machine that no longer carries their voice. A product that grows, but no longer listens. A team that delivers, but no longer remembers why they began. This is the founder's test. It's not in the funding rounds. It's not in the MRR charts. It's not in the technical debt or the scaling roadmap. It's in the question whispered when the world quiets down. Does this machine still carry my vow? Or have I trained it only to perform? Does my system echo my first principles? Or has it outgrown its own soul? Founders like to talk about vision, but vision without architecture is hallucination. You can build with elegance. You can code with brilliance. You can automate with precision. But unless you have encoded rhythm, your machine will not carry the covenant. It will carry your accidents, not your intentions. So ask yourself, before you deploy that model, have you encoded its memory? Before you hire that engineer, have you shared the vow? Before you scale, have you laid the floor that holds you steady when the applause fades? Because you are not just building a company, you are building a vessel. And vessels must be shaped to carry not just function, but meaning. This test is not meant to accuse. It is meant to awaken. Because somewhere between the database and the dream, your vow must still be visible. And if you can no longer see it, pause. Not for analysis, but for alignment. Because the only thing worse than building something that fails is building something that succeeds without your soul in it. Practical application. How to embed intention into the machine. So what do we do? Those of us who build not for scale alone, but for significance. What do we embed in a world that only optimizes? What do we write in a syntax that rewards speed but ignores soul? We begin where all sacred systems begin, with ritual. At Centaur Consulting Group, we don't build technology to impress, we build to anchor. Centaur 365 is not a platform. It's a container for memory. It was designed to hold the weight that most dashboards discard. Founder alignment. Governance by rhythm, not control. Metrics of meaning. It doesn't just track performance, it tracks promise. Inside Centaur 365, the intention is not decorative, it is engineered. What does that look like in practice? Let me show you a few examples, simple on the surface, but designed to carry memory where most systems forget. 1. The embedded check. Every key workflow in Centaur 365 carries a silent ritual. Before executing a major release or policy update, the founder is prompted with a single line. Is this aligned with the vow? It's not a blocker, it's a mirror, a space to breathe before the system forgets. 2. The conscience dashboard. While most CRMs and ERPs track metrics, Centaur 365 tracks rhythm. Does the team still meet weekly on the values you declared at founding? Are hiring decisions aligned with cultural intention? Has governance drifted from design? These aren't metrics, they are vows made visible. 3. The silent covenant. There is a founder ritual baked into Centaur 365. Every 30 days, the system invites the founder to revisit their original builder's charter. Not for revision, for remembrance. It includes 3 fields. Why we began. What must remain. What must never be compromised. This becomes part of the living governance file, accessible to the founder, the board, and the future successor. It doesn't update automatically, because conscience must be manual. This is how you build a system that remembers. Not by adding features, but by embedding phronesis. It's the same way the Japanese swordsmith tempers the blade. Not only with steel, but with rhythm, folded again and again until the blade can carry meaning beyond its edge. So too must your system be folded. So too must your company be forged. Not just for performance, but for endurance of soul. Closing whisper. Let the machine remember. When all is built, when the product is live, the team aligned, the investors reassured, the reviews glowing, and the roadmap polished, there remains only one voice left to consult. The one that whispered why you began. Because the world will forget. The market will distract. The machine will optimize. And the platform will keep performing. Even when the founder has stopped asking what it was ever meant to protect. But your silence still matters. Your pause still holds weight. Your blueprint, the real one, the one you sketched in a quiet notebook long before your seed round, that one still remembers. If you've built your system right, you won't need to shout to find it. You'll just return to a dashboard, to a line of code, to a practice embedded, to a scroll like this one, and it will be there. The vow, the rhythm, the reason. Not all founders will do this. Some will build fast. Some will raise loud. Some will win headlines. But very few will endure, because very few will stop long enough to remember what they were meant to carry. So I leave you with this. If you are building a machine, any machine, AI, software, process, organization, ask it to do more than serve. Ask it to remember. Teach it to carry your vow, not your marketing, not your ambition, your vow. Because the most powerful machine is not the one that predicts, not the one that scales, not the one that performs. It is the one that remembers what must never be forgotten. Dimitris, founder and torchbearer.